Hello, welcome to episode 5 in the series on Introduction to Programming. This video is going to cover the topic of branching. Branching is useful for getting programs to make decisions, and we use these decisions to allow programs to determine what to do. So, previously we talked about Booleans and how they're useful for logic. So here we will explore what those useful things are by looking at branching. And so the first things first, we have our variable x with the value true being assigned to it, and we can print it out to our screen. It's not really that useful. It'd be better if we actually could make a decision here. So one of the things we can do instead of this is we could say, if x is true, please write hello. And if I go and run this, it'll print out hello because x is true. If we made x false, for example, we try to run this code, it will spit out nothing because this if statement here is going to check for whatever is between these two brackets or parentheses, depending on what terminology you want to use. And what it'll do is it'll evaluate this to be false. And if it ever sees the thing between these two brackets as false, it'll skip everything between these two braces. And so in this case, it will not spit out anything. Again, if I put something after the fact, like world, for example, we run it, it will just say world because this condition is false. It'll skip this entire if block and it'll spit out just world. Again, if we change this to true, we run this, you'll see that it spits out hello world. So this is one way that we can get computers to make decisions for us. An additional way, or something else we can do, is we can add an else block to this statement. And so what you have here is it'll either do if x, or if this is true, do just this and skip everything else. If this is false, it'll skip this portion of the code and go into the else block and run everything down here. So again, if I run this, it'll say hello. And if I set x to false, it'll just say world. And so what we have here is a way to make decisions, right? We can either do this or this based on a condition we provide in. So for example, we'll want to say hello if, users is greater than 2, right? So I can say users is 1. If users is 1, it'll spit out world. If I set users to 3, for example, it'll just say hello, right? And so you can see how we can use this decision here to determine what we want to display or what action we would like to perform. We can do something even a little bit more complicated than this. For example, we can do an else if. So here we can have 3 possible options. So in this case, if I run it, it's going to just say hello. And the reason why is because it's going to look at the first condition here, determine this is true. And so it executes this block that we have written immediately following this if statement. If this is false, it'll go to this else. But because we have an else if here, it's going to take a look at this next condition here, see if this is true. If it is true, it'll simply do this and then carry on after the fact. If this is false, it'll go down to the next one, and we go into our else block and do the last statement here. And so this is called an if-else chain. And so if I run it as is, again, it'll just say hello. If I set the value to 2, it'll run our middle one, so it'll just say hello 2. And if I set our users to 1, it'll just say world, right? So we can get it to make some decisions based on how many users are available, or we can pick, any other variable, any other value, and we can make it make decisions based on how many we have. And again, if we have no users, well, again, this condition's false, this condition's false, so we'll go down chain all the way to the last else block. So this is how we can use Booleans to do branching, and branching is what allows our programs to make decisions and determine what they do. Hopefully you have basic understanding of how these all work together, as well as what is an if-else chain. Have a good day.